Oh, Elden Ring, finally upon us, and I will do my best to keep this review as spoiler-free as possible. A game that is this massive yet is so lovingly crafted should be, frankly, impossible. It features one of the biggest maps I've ever seen in a game, yet I never tired of exploring every nook and cranny that I could find. In the week since review codes were sent out, I have played over 60 hours across 5 different characters, and all I want to do is play more. From epic boss fights to some of the most incredible art design I've ever seen, from standard phenomenal soundtrack and excellent controls, this game is special. They somehow managed to live up to the immense, daunting, and quite frankly, unrealistic hype. Elden Ring is From Software's magnum opus. This game is the culmination of everything learned, starting back in 2009 with Demon's Souls on the PlayStation 3. From Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 to Sekiro, you can see the bits and pieces that From loved most. Though, with Sekiro, it's mainly the fact that A is now a jump button and there's a little bit of stealth. This is a Souls-like through and through, with nearly every familiar system that you're used to. Gone, though, are things like weapon durability and leveling up armor pieces. This game feels streamlined in all the right ways for me. Gone also are the grueling corpse runs after dying to a boss, as it rarely takes you more than a minute and sometimes only a few seconds to get back to one. This is a fully open world game featuring one of the biggest maps I've ever seen. Not only is the surface vast and jam-packed with enemies and places to explore, it's also filled with tunnels, underground cities, crypts, vast dungeons, and more below the surface as well. To aid you in this journey are Lost Grace checkpoint hubs. They operate exactly how you would expect, restoring your health, focus pool, which is your mana, and flasks. This is where you can also tinker with a wide array of customization options for your character that slowly build up as you play. Leveling works the same as the Souls series, though instead of the Souls currency, you now acquire runes. Each Lost Grace works as an instant teleport as well when you are out of combat and in the open world proper. Loading times on both Series X, where I played the majority of my time, and Series S, rarely felt longer than 10 seconds and quite often were 4 or 5. By far the biggest new addition, though, is your Spectral Steed Torrent. They are fast, nimble, coming with a double jump, and key to both cutting down time on initial journeys and in cutting down many of your open world foes. Torrent cannot join you in dungeon areas, but in the open world itself, which is filled with many bosses, they're designed with the thought that you might be on horseback. This game really is gigantic and there's no way to get around it. And smartly, you do not use up stamina anymore when out of combat. Stealth is also quite useful here in another nod from Sekiro. Clicking in the left stick has you crouched down, and tall grass can conceal you from the conveniently mostly blind and deaf foes. You can get up right behind someone and start dancing a little bit, and they'll rarely react, seemingly only able to notice you if you either run or walk directly in front of them. Even with all this, the game can still be soul-crushingly difficult if you are impatient. What it isn't is nearly as claustrophobic as the previous games were, at least when you're in the open world. Anytime you're in that open world and things get a bit dicey, you can quickly call Torrent and attempt to make a quick escape. This is From's most accessible game yet, but it doesn't lose their trademark difficulty. Even at level 72, I still took massive amounts of damage from low-level enemies if I grew too careless with my attacks. Bosses are monstrous in your first go-round, though each does appear to have a weakness that you can learn about, and the early ones also offer up NPC summons who can help you. You will still be dying a lot, but with the lack of very long corpse runs, it never felt as punishing to me as in past Souls games. It was truly a learning tool here, and each attempt I made saw me, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, make progress. Let's start talking about combat. Elden Ring carries on from tradition of having your attacks and shields tied to your bumpers and triggers. Each hand corresponds to the left and right ones depending on what you have equipped. You can change your handedness by holding down the Y button and then using the corresponding bumper. For a class that uses large weapons, this allows you to two-hand them for maximum damage and then quickly jump back over to your ranged weapon as necessary. The system wasn't broken, so they didn't feel the need to fix it, and it still works great here. The biggest change overall is the aforementioned A button as your jump, which can also aid you in massive damage attacks when paired with the right trigger. Previously, jumping required multiple buttons and only worked while you were running. B is your most important defensive button in the game for most builds, the dodge, and holding it down allows you to do that running, while Y is used for all of your interactions. Depending on the class you choose, whether they be melee, ranged, or spell-focused, there is a ton of variety on offer. There are a bunch of built-in classes to start, or you can choose hard mode with the Wretch and begin things with no gear and a flat 10 in each stat. For veterans of the series, this may be the way to go as it offers you the most choice, but there does appear to be a way to fully reset your character, though it wasn't available until after a decent amount of time playing. One of the few very minor issues I have in the game is the mounted combat. Elden Ring utilizes the tried and true click and the right stick to lock on system, and when you're moving as fast as you can while mounted, the camera can start whipping around like a meth head that just drank a 12-pack of Red Bull. I also found that the majority of the early game shields to be completely useless against bosses and any mobs that did elemental damage, so I ended up going with a two-hand focused samurai for my main playthrough. Armor doesn't really appear to change at all as you play, and instead the focus on leveling is mainly on your weaponry now. The incredibly comprehensive review guide that From gave to us only mentioned the recommended level of your weapons for each boss encounter, and scouring the map for the various mines and tunnels in each region is key, as they are your main source of smithing stones, which are used at the blacksmith to upgrade your weapons. The game also features the classic cooperative and competitive online components. A change now is that you can have up to 3 people in your game, with 2 of them being co-op helpers or a mix of helper, where it can be a hunter, of the invader. They want to kill you. You can play the game offline, but even then you'll find NPC invaders who force you to dismount, and NPC helpers who are gold summon signs mainly around bosses. Another big change that I greatly appreciate is a scaling system, as I was able to join my brother's much lower level character by using the in-game password system. All summons are handled a bit weird. It's a very annoying summon system, and you can't simply just invite someone from your friends list to play. That password system did allow me to play with my brother easily enough though, and it scaled me down to match his stats and damage inputs. It is set up to be a help with this one area system though, as you cannot mount or enter any new areas together during a summon. Kill the boss and want to keep playing together? Well, you probably have to leave and then get summoned back while in the next area. Thankfully though, the regions needed to craft the finger remedy needed to use the summon signs are only 2 very easy to find Erd flowers. A big quality of life improvement over past titles for me. It's not a great co-op system, but at least it's not Monster Hunter. This is a brand new mythos created by George R.R. Martin of A Song of Ice and Fire fame. He created the backstory for From's incredible writing team to birth forth something wondrous, mysterious, obtuse, and incredibly satisfying to uncover. I am not going to get into any specifics, as I believe this game is best experienced on your own with as little knowledge going in as possible. Just know that I love this weird, horrific, and utterly gorgeous lands between that they have created. On Series X and S, the game features a quality and performance mode. Quality offers up a 4K resolution at 30 frames per second, and the performance mode lowers that resolution while aiming for 60 frames per second. Playing the majority of my time before the Day 1 patch, it rarely held 60 frames per second on either my X or S in the open world when it was raining especially. Playing offline oddly seemed to help this quite a bit, but we'll have to wait and see what that initial patch does to tidy things up, if at all. Like always, I am using a variable refresh rate enabled display, so the classic From Software frame pacing judder didn't seem to be a thing in either mode. It is by far their best feeling game on console, though I doubt it runs very well on base Xbox One hardware. My early playthrough was on PC, where the game trounced my poor laptop in its RTX 2060. Both PC and console do appear to suffer from memory leaks, as restarting the game would offer up improved performance over things if I had been playing for hours straight. This is another thing to keep an eye on when it comes to that day one patch. Graphically though, the art style is on a level all of its own. Technically this game might not be a marvel, but that art style is some of the best I have ever seen in a game. We have been asked only to show off the first 2 areas of the game, and I'm a-okay with that, as the beginning areas can be stunning, but some of the later ones are far and away the best I've ever seen in a From game, and you need to see them on your own in context. Quite often, the scope and beauty are jaw-dropping, and the variety of landscapes is up there with the best in the open world genre. Speaking of that open world a bit more, Elden Ring has the best open world of any game I have ever played. There are no icons on the, at first, empty and slowly as you find the pieces of it, gorgeous map, unless you place them there yourself. A few NPCs may give you directions, at which point a small blotchy red wax mark appears, but that only happened twice for me. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly why this open world works so well for me. It's just this incredible combination of diversity, bespoke craftsmanship, readily apparent high quality, and an unparalleled attention to detail. Another welcome feature in that open world are the stakes of Marika that reside near tough enemy encounters. These act as a small respawn hub and cut down on needless travel time after losing a tough fight. Enemy variety is as good and terrifying as ever, with a mixture of small, medium, and increasingly large enemies that are all itching to slice you apart the moment they notice you. Fall damage has been greatly lessened as well, though it is still easy to fall to your death if you try, because boy can you get high up in some of these areas. That extra leeway though when it comes to the distance it takes to die from a fall greatly helps with your exploration across the lands between, and that exploration was addicting to me. I couldn't help but search through every ruin I found, looking for that white glow of a new drop, constantly pressing the Y button to gather items on the ground to use, and the deep crafting system never grew old. Every time I found a new vendor and purchased his unique items, it was a thrill, as I could not wait to jump over and see what new things I could create. And despite the vast number of very different looking and feeling areas, each of them feels like someone or a team of people went in and handcrafted it to both balance difficulty and make sure it's worth seeing through. Never once did I feel like an area was just copy and pasted on, even if it was a boss encounter that was repeated, which actually only happened a few times out of the many dozens of bosses. They made sure to add in a new mechanic that changed things up so it still felt refreshing, and it kept me on my toes. Running around on my spectral horse and being attacked by a ghost boat trying to smush me while on dry land was absurd in that classic From way. Gigantic dragons breathing blue fire or shooting red electricity, enormous sword-wielding trolls flinging torrents of wind. There is always something new in each weird, wild area of this world. They somehow found the balance of it neither being too full nor too empty. That map has no icons, and just once you find the pieces for each region, beautiful drawings on it that help you infer what might be in each location. It encourages and lightly guides you, and side quests are rare and meaningful when you do come across them. There's no guide, but NPCs are happy to restate what they need from you, so that I rarely felt confused on what I needed to do next for them. If Halo Infinite was my dream checklist-style open-world game, then Elden Ring is the very best version of the complete opposite of that. The music and voice acting are as good as ever. The Elden Ring soundtrack has surpassed Dark Souls 3 as my favorite in their repertoire, and the voice acting stands far above what you would generally expect from a Japanese studio's English dub. The script and actors themselves are excellent, and the creature roars and sound effects are fantastic. I personally had zero bugs with the game as well, with enemy pathing occasionally getting them stuck in certain areas, but it happened rarely and quite frankly it's a common thing in a game like this. Things were supremely stable as I had zero crashes on either console or PC. Accessibility-wise, there's not much there, unfortunately, and that goes for the overall options, which are rather limited as well. PC has a bevy of graphical options to try and maintain a smooth frame rate, though console only has the previously mentioned quality and performance modes. It is a sadly rare occurrence nowadays to have something just work, which of course means that once the game launches, chances are the online servers will explode and not work at all. You'll want to keep an eye out on how things go there as well, as this game is looking to be an enormous release. Dark Souls 3 servers, I believe, are still down on PC due to hacking, and thankfully Elden Ring is using easy anti-cheat, which hopefully prevents that at least from happening too soon. In conclusion, Elden Ring is a masterpiece of a title, with only a few minor issues. The co-op summon system is a pain, and mounted combat doesn't always feel the best. Other than that, this game is staggeringly good in every single area. In my opinion, it does for open world games what people claimed Breath of the Wild did. Every part of the experience is elevated by an insane attention to detail. Few games have ever left me feeling so enthralled for the entirety of my playtime. Whether you're going it solo or with a friend, Elden Ring is guaranteed to be one hell of a time. Thank you so much for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. But if you go to patreon.com/XboxEra, that is the best way to help our channel grow. We'll see you here next time.